Is Pep Guardiola under pressure? The question we asked today on Numbers Don't Lie, powered by Sofascore. Welcome into our studio alongside Michael Lahoud. I'm Chris Wittyngham. And Michael, we saw a performance from Manchester City at the weekend that was frankly diabolical. They were soundly beaten by Manchester United by 2-0. How were they stymied in that game? We'll get to the numbers in a second, but they were just dominated from start to finish.
Yeah, I saw a difference between two sides. For Manchester United, it was a side that was playing for respect. For Manchester City, they were playing for points, but they looked like they were in fourth gear and never got out of it. And the big thing I saw was in the midfield. I think the jury's out. If you can get after that midfield, you get after Pep, and the pressure, rightfully so, is put under him.
And if you want to get involved, please do so in the YouTube comment section and answer our question. Is Pep Guardiola under pressure? What has gone wrong for this City side? And this is what the numbers look like at the weekend. You can see a statistical domination in terms of expected goals, in terms of the scoreline, in terms of shots. The possession, though, was in the favor of Manchester City. Was this just sort of toothless possession from City in the game?
In my opinion, right now in the modern game, possession is the most overrated thing with ice cream and all that other stuff, right? I hate ice cream.
You hate ice cream?
Yeah, certain types of ice cream. But with regard to this stat, all the numbers there, 68% possession, but shots on target in the second half of that Manchester derby, Manchester City didn't have a single shot on target. That is unacceptable for a side trying to pursue a Premier League title.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrendous in the game. You look at the expected goals. In terms of individual games, this is among the worst performances that we've seen from City in the last few seasons. If you go back to previous Manchester derbies at Old Trafford, there seems to be a house of horrors in recent times. There was a 0-0 draw, a 2-1 defeat back in 2023. But you see, in terms of this performance at the weekend, the worst for close to 4 years from Manchester City. So we're trying to dig into the reasons why. What has happened here for this team that has added a ton of talent? We'll get to the money spent in a second, but they've got some pretty solid players up front. What is it about the chemistry that just isn't working here as you look at these performances? It's 2 goals and 3 points over their last 4 games in the Prem.
Unfortunately for Manchester City, I think we're seeing the ramifications still of not having Julian Alvarez. The question I've always had is, who's going to get you goals if Erling Haaland, God forbid, Witty, doesn't score week in and week out? And we're starting to see this. I mean, players that were stepping up, like your Phil Fodens and your Jeremy Doku's, they haven't been scoring goals, right, for the citizens. So we're seeing that in the last 4 matches, and now we are going to have to ask even deeper questions, because if this keeps up, City are going to go from trying to compete for a Premier League title to maybe competing just to get in the Champions League.
Only 2 goals over a 4-game period. It's the second time that's happened to a Guardiola team. I think in the overall, you're making the right point, though, which is this is an era of transition where you remember, obviously, the City teams of having Ederson in goal and Kyle Walker at right back and John Stones at center back, and Rodri was dominating the midfield, and Bernardo Silva and David Silva and Leroy Sané and the new sets of players that have come in each line have not quite filled that void, have not really turned into top-level goal scorers, and all of a sudden the team becomes a little bit reliant on Erling Haaland from a goal-scoring point of view. Let's take a look at some of the goal-scoring statistics for this City side under Pep Guardiola, and you see at the beginning, they're soaring, scoring tons of goals. But these last 2 seasons, Lahoud, where they've struggled, you're at roughly around 2 goals a game. In the case of last season, under 2 goals per game. These are worrying signs. It has gotten worse.
Yeah, oftentimes history repeats itself, right? This is Pep's first season. The big thing and the big issue with Manchester City was Kun Aguero was scoring goals. Kevin De Bruyne was getting goals, but Raheem Sterling had his lowest goal-scoring season, and City got 3rd place. You go to this season where they make the Champions League final. It's the COVID year. Kun Aguero missed 19 games that season because of COVID, because of knee injury, hamstring injuries, and Kevin De Bruyne puts his team on his back. I think we're seeing the same thing of not having enough goal scorers around Erling Haaland. That's why I say you see the lowest goal-scoring outputs for Manchester City have led to a lot of the same issues we're seeing this season from the supporting cast.
Now, at the beginning of the season, Erling Haaland was on absolute fire, scoring tons of goals. But you look in recent times, those goals have dried up. Over the course of his last 7 games in all competitions, it is just 1 goal, a goal in that game against Brighton that they drew. If you look at his Sofascore rating over the course of this period, starts the season absolutely fantastically well, is still maintaining a good level, but so far in January, it has not been anywhere near good enough. This is probably the greatest goal scorer alongside Kylian Mbappe, maybe Harry Kane as well, of Bayern in the modern game. why isn't he scoring goals? Why isn't he even getting chances in a game like this?
I think it's down to the movement of the crew that's in and around him. And I think also Manchester City, you go back to when he broke the record, right? Kevin De Bruyne was lobbing in early service. You get to the Manchester derby and Erling Haaland, yes, the touches in the box, we've seen this. I'm not concerned about 14 touches because I've seen him take 14, 15 touches and score a hat trick. It's this number here, 0 shots on target, didn't have a single shot on target or really involved in anything in the first half of the derby. That is a massive worry.
Yeah, and you look at the statistical pace over the course of the first 18 games of the season. Again, absolutely stunning. Over a goal per game, expected goals in roughly that territory, but also taking his chances. You look at the last 4 games, a quarter of a goal per game, essentially. He is underperforming his XG, and he is still missing big chances at a higher rate. I guess you could maybe say this early part of the season was unsustainable, but I think what we're seeing right now is a level of performance that's not near good enough. But I think moving on to the sort of the next point in all of this is the amount of spend that Manchester City have had over the course of this period. We're seeing a team that is spending a ton of money in the transfer window. On day of recording, they've added another center back in Marc Guéhi to try and add and bolster to this core, but it's close to $500 million over the course of the last calendar year, going back to the start of the January transfer window. We look at over the course of his entire time that Guardiola has been at City, no manager has come even close to the amount of money that he spent. Obviously, he's the one continuous manager over the course of this period, but over €2 billion compared to Arteta at Arsenal, who's at just over $1 billion. Eddie Howe at Arsenal. Arne Slot has only just started and spent a lot of money in this summer window, but Guardiola has been given all the resources you could possibly want as a manager, and yet right now, these players that have come in have just not really delivered. Let's look at the notable purchases over the course of this period. Antoine Semenyo has only just arrived, but Omar Marmoush came in for over $70 million. Not been amazing. Tijani Reinders is figuring it out. Kusanov might be a disappointment, I think we can say at this point after about a year. You just go on down the line, Lahoud. These are new players that have come in that are meant to become the next core of this City side, and they aren't really delivering.
I think Manchester City used to rule the transfer market in putting things on their terms, but I see a lot of panic buys for the citizens. The January window before, you get Marmoush because it's a panic buy. I mean, the only player that I could say on this roster in terms of new buys is twofold. Marc Guéhi is going to be revolutionary for the City backline. That's one of the coups in the modern Premier League era under Guardiola. And Ryan Cherki is a generational talent, and I thought Najee Coker said it really well. He will be one of the names we talk about as a future Ballon d'Or candidate. But of these others, I mean, a lot of questions about, are they Manchester City players? I don't think some of these players are.
Well, I think we're talking about Guéhi right now, obviously, because he signs today. But I think we have talked about some of these other players as, Ait Nouri is a need at left back. You plug him in, and all of a sudden, he's a fit. So Guéhi, who comes in, obviously, with a great reputation from Palace, just won an FA Cup, could have gone to Liverpool in the summer. Instead, now he plays for Man City. And I think you could say what you just said, which is he'll be revolutionary for this team. But this is still a team that's turning over from John Stones, from Ruben Diaz, from all of the high-level center backs that they've had. Do you think he's ready to carry the mantle? And how much do you think he could affect near-term results? Could he step right into the team and change things?
It comes in right now at one of the best times. I think Marc Guéhi could step into any team in the Premier League outside of Arsenal, right? They have the best 2 center-back pairings in world football. I mean, he's England's best defender, and we're going to see that at the World Cup next summer. Leadership is a big thing, and right now, City need a massive leader at the back and in that locker room. I think that's him.
This club measures itself by the major trophies. They're 7 points off the pace in the Premier League, but now on the eve of Champions League match day 7 in the league phase, we're asking, can this team get it done in the Champions League? Currently sitting in 4th in the league phase. Obviously, you see that transfer expenditure right up there with all the other teams in that top 8, but we see Arsenal going incredibly well in Europe. We see Bayern and PSG. We know the level of strength that they have. Do you think this City side, as currently constituted, the team we're watching right now, can win a major trophy this year? And if they can't, how big of an indictment is that on Guardiola?
Look, I find it hard to bet against Pep Guardiola because of what he's done. And I find it hard to believe that Manchester City may not win a single trophy, but that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think Man City wins a single trophy this season. Should they meet Arsenal in the Carabao Cup final, they take a 2-0 lead on aggregate, they'll get hammered because of what they're playing and how they're playing and the deficiencies in midfield and the lack of goals around Haaland. I'm made to be proven wrong, but the jury's still out.
Yeah, it could be a difficult season for Manchester City. And again, get involved in the YouTube comments. What is going wrong with the citizens at the moment? That's a question we're asking here on Numbers Don't Lie.
Welcome into CBS Sports presents Numbers Don't Lie, powered by Sofascore, the show where we ask the biggest questions and the biggest games and the biggest names. Today, we're going to ask the biggest question surrounding Arsenal, the Gunners. Is it a systems problem or a players problem? Why they aren't getting enough out of their offense. Michael Lahoud, my guy, Chris Wittyngham here. Woody, when you look at the Gunners, I'll ask you, what's the issue with them putting balls in the back of the net lately?
Yeah, I think we see the 0-0 draw against Nottingham Forest. A lot of frustrations for the fans this weekend. Personally, I think they're a little bit overblown. We're in this part of the year where you're playing Carabao Cup, you're playing FA Cup, you're playing Champions League, you're playing Premier League. They're 7 points clear at the top of the league, but I understand that level of frustration. I think we want to see from a champion of the Premier League a sort of level of imperiousness going forward. They have so much attacking talent, and yet we play 22 games and they've scored 40 goals, or under 2 goals a game, which is a pretty slow mark for a team that's on pace to win the league. So in my view, I think it is about the caution that they play with. It is about the system, but we'll dig into the numbers on it a bit more.
Yeah, Mikel Arteta, he's built a machine that's taken quite a bit of time. But when you talk to Arsenal fans or Premier League football fans, they don't call them Beautiful Football FC. They call them Set Piece FC. And the numbers don't lie, right? You get the 40 goals, but when you look at the numbers, they're leading the cavalry in terms of set piece goals. You think of players like a Gabriel. Yeah. He is arguably one of the best defenders in the world, not just because he can defend, but he's a set piece target. What do you make of these numbers?
Well, I think over the course of the season, it has almost become a joke, a meme, this idea that, well, Arsenal's just one corner away. If they can just get a corner late on, they can go and score. It's incredible the proficiency that they have with these movements, making movements off of other players and getting to the back post, and the brilliant deliveries from Declan Rice, who almost all of his XG comes from those set-piece deliveries. But I think this is an incredible statistic. 11 of Arsenal's 15 Premier League wins this season have come after a set-piece goal. And I guess the flip side of that is also incredible as well, where they also have not really won games where they haven't scored from a set piece, as was the case this weekend. Arsenal failed to score a set piece goal in each of their last 7 Premier League games where they dropped points. So they are becoming reliant on this. And the moniker is for a reason, Set Piece FC. And it's not necessarily a pejorative. They're being successful with it. It's just that from open play, they just haven't been as threatening as we thought they would be, considering the level of attacking talent they have.
I think we're seeing a change in world football, and I love that you bring these numbers up and these stats up, because the beautiful game is going from beautiful to the balance of being direct. We're seeing it with clubs like a Brentford in the Premier League.
Yeah.
They're up there in the top 7, in the top 10. Let's be very kind to Brentford, top 10, because they figured it out, and Mikel Arteta may have unlocked something in the Premier League. But at the end of the day, for the Gunners, the expectation is to deliver a Premier League trophy, but also to deliver in the final third. And we got to talk about the big elephant in the room, Woody, is Viktor Gyökeres. And in my opinion, Viktor Gyökeres has been struggling for Arsenal. And you can pick at a lot of different things. Is it him? Is it the system? Is it Mikel Arteta? But we have to have an honest conversation as to why Viktor Gyökeres is struggling. I look at his ability both movement-wise, technically, and mentally as the big reasons why. But if we get to that, we look at the numbers. This is going back amongst 116 forwards that have played a minimum of 300 minutes. This isn't good enough. The 5 goals, 19th ranked in there. But my biggest worry is the fact that the expected goals aren't yielding actual goals. And Woody, when you looked at Viktor Gyökeres, what is your big concern?
Well, I think you start here with the Sofascore rating, ranked 114 of the 116 Premier League forwards. He's just not delivering. And I think this was, maybe a little bit of a fallacy over time, but there was this idea that Arsenal was a center forward away. They just needed to bring in a striker like this, and he was going to deliver 20 goals, and Arsenal was going to go win the Premier League. The remarkable thing is, they might go win the Premier League after bringing in a striker, but it won't be the reason why. He is not the reason why Arsenal are having success. If anything, you can maybe make an argument that with another player up front, they could be having more success.
And that's the argument, and that's the case we're really going to get into. So I dub this the good, the bad, and the ugly of Viktor Gyökeres. And I'm a positive guy. I'm probably one of the most positive guys at CBS Sports. Don't quote me on that. But we're going to look at the good right now, because there was some good very recently in the Carabao Cup. This is against Chelsea. So Viktor Gyökeres, as we pause here, Static movement has been one of my biggest qualms with them, but also getting into spaces early. Arsenal sub out Martin Odegaard, which I don't think Victor Gyökeres and Martin Odegaard is a match made in heaven just yet, because Odegaard is about control. Mikel Moreno has a very high footballing IQ, and it's about early service and getting patient movement from Gyökeres in the final third. So Gyökeres, as we pause there, he doesn't go automatically. He waits for the space to show itself, and I've played with some of the best strikers. Juan Pablo Angel used to teach me this. He said, let my movement tell you when I'm ready to receive the ball. And Gyökeres does this. Moreno gets the ball, and look at his initial movement. It goes in, and what does that do? It initiates the runs from midfield. Arsenal look like a dynamic football team and football club when moments, roll the clip, happen like this. And this is one of the best team football goals that we've seen from the Gunners in quite some time. And Martin Zubimendi, signing of the season, in my opinion, from Arsenal, and one of the signings of the summer in world football. I mean, this was the best I've seen Gyökeres in terms of movement, hold-up play, and understanding of the game and teammates on display this season.
But also the quality as well to pull that pass off, to receive and play quickly. But you're right, this is the best case scenario. Let's kind of take you through some of the areas in which it has not gone so well for Arsenal.
Yeah, the big thing for Arsenal and the big thing for Victor Gyökeres is it's not enough in terms of being effective and creating enough chances and getting shots off. I mean, averaging 2 shots. The guy scored 60 goals last season. What do you bring him in to get 2 shots? It's not good enough for a team that's competing on multiple fronts.
Let's set the context for this set of statistics, though. These are Premier League forwards, center forwards, since the start of 2016-17, third at last in touches per 90, which, I mean, we talked about Erling Haaland not necessarily be full of touches in his game, but still, these are worrying statistics. The passing accuracy, the aerial duels one. This is, I think, a big one because there was a thought that he was going to come in and be a physical presence. He's not yet been a physical presence.
Yeah, the disappointing thing as well, and I love you talk about the aerial duels. I think a lot of Premier League defenders find him very easy to mark. And this is a player who won the Gerd Muller Trophy for all of those reasons that he's not showing. And we're going to see the next tactical is his movement has been really disappointing. So this is the bad, because we're going to get to the downright ugly. This is against Liverpool. And Bukayo Saka, we're going to get into him, has to play early service. But we're going to see it again as we look at it again. We pause right here. Victor Gyökeres, this is Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate. We've seen Victor Gyökeres constantly want to go to that back post. This isn't Sporting Lisbon. This is Arsenal. This is the Premier League. People and defenders have watched you go to that back post. There's a massive gap right here. If you get on Bukayo Saka, and look, Bukayo Saka should put this ball in, but you have to have runs into that near post. I don't see Victor Gyökeres making enough runs into the near post. And if I'm a winger, I'm thinking he's not going to give me the right sort of movement. I'm just going to take it myself, Woody.
And that's what Bukayo Saka does there. I guess my question to you would be, as we look at another clip, this is from the Liverpool game against Saka coming inside, and Gyökeres' position is static as a shot goes in. My question to you would be, well, if you're saying that a center forward recognizes that space and runs into it, wouldn't there be a suggestion that Mikel Arteta is asking him not to do so, to leave that wing over to Saka and that space to Saka for him to take advantage? Because he is the creator in this team. A lot of the play goes through him. So Gyökeres doesn't necessarily want to take his space. And so in some ways, is Gyökeres not confined to this area in the width of the 6-yard box? Or do you think he should maybe defy the tactics or just do what a center forward does anyway? Because I can't imagine he wouldn't make that run under normal circumstances unless Arteta tells him not to.
It's a combination of both, in my opinion, because Arsenal, they've been this close doing what they're doing, and there's always a sense of control, and so that is something he has to adapt to. Both Saka and Gyökeres have to adapt. In my opinion, it's on Gyökeres to demand what he needs to get his goals, but this is about another conversation, Woody, and this is the downright ugly, as I said. His technical ability has been inconsistent and poor. Nottingham Forest, right? You're away to the City Ground. You're not playing your best as a team. Victor Gyökeres, the breakaway speed. Victor Gyökeres, the bully. Murillo, he slips. This is what you get paid to do. You have acres of space. My cousin. No, I'm not going to go with my cousin. This should be a goal, right? I'm not going to take personal shots. This is what you're paid to do as a Premier League footballer. Murillo, dead to rights. Elliot Anderson, not the fastest midfielder. Victor Gyökeres, I remember when he played against Manchester City, one of the goals that you and I were talking about, he looked like a runaway freight train. banging in. But now look at his technique. You have to have a good, solid first touch. That first touch to take you 10 yards beyond the top of the box. If your first touch goes anywhere to one side to the right, anywhere to the left, you're back into pressure with Elliot Anderson. But this touch that goes here, you're off to the races. And as we roll the tactics, look at what he does. This is subpar for a club that is going to be in the Champions League. And you know, in my opinion, and looking at it, imagining it, Viktor Gyökeres, as the buildup goes, first touch not good enough, third touch not good enough, and ultimately he lets Nottingham Forest off the hook. Arsenal could have gone 9 points clear to finish up that day, and they're very fortunate that Aston Villa slipped up. And these are the moments in the fine margins that Viktor Gyökeres is getting wrong time and time again, and that begs even more questions about where Arsenal should turn as they move forward in terms of striker options, because it's not Gyökeres or bust. They have options, Woody.
Yeah, I think you look at the four players that could reasonably play this role. Kai Havertz has done it a fair bit. Gabriel Jesus, Mikel Merino did an incredible job in a fill-in role. I'm not certain he's the guy that you want to be the permanent solution at this position, but I think you look at these players, there's real competition for this place. How long does Arteta stick with it? I personally think that the player he trusts the most is Kai Havertz. I think at some point he'll resume that role and he'll be that center forward again. But there's competition, but again, none of this competition is high-level center forward play. I don't think any of these guys are going to become 20-goal scorers. Only Gyökeres can, and I think that would be the case for sticking with him.
So very quickly, what's your pecking order, 1 to 4?
I think based off of current performance, I would say Havertz 1, Jesus 2, Merino 3, and Gyökeres 4th. Based off of current performance, based off of what we've seen for them this season. That doesn't mean that if you're Arsenal, you give up on this project. You spent a lot of money, and you thought that it would solve your problems. But if you're trying to win a game tomorrow, rather than implement some long-term process, if we get to Champions League semi-final, final territory, then I think you start to look for other options.
You heard it from the main man, Chris Wittyngham himself. Viktor Gyökeres is going to drop to 4th in the pecking order, but you let us know in the YouTube comments, what are Arsenal's problems and what should Viktor Gyökeres do? Numbers don't lie. You heard it here first.
This is the team of the tournament from Sofascore from the Africa Cup of Nations alongside Michael Lahoud. I'm Chris Wittyngham here on Numbers Don't Lie. And Michael, what stands out about this group? We see 4 Senegalese players, only the 1 Moroccan, despite the fact that they get to the final. Mo Salah, Ademola Lookman leading the line. What stands out to you about this team?
Look, the player of the tournament technically didn't make the Sofascore team. Maybe I would have put him in there, but this is implied with the group stages and the knockout round as well. The goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy, with the big save on Brahim Diaz. But in my opinion, Yassine Bounou was the best goalkeeper of the tournament. I mean, the Moroccan still stands as the best goalkeeper in Africa right now. But the numbers don't lie overall in the tournament. Some really good players.
Yeah, some amazing performances in this tournament. Amad Diallo on that wing for Côte d'Ivoire was absolutely fantastic. But you mentioned Sadio Mane not in the team of the tournament. Obviously, the Sofascore rating is based off of performance over time. You get to the final, you play more difficult games. But we see 2 goals and 3 assists. Not quite enough to bump Lookman and Salah out of that group, but still an absolutely sensational Africa Cup of Nations. And our colleague here at CBS, Troy Deeney, suggesting that maybe he's the best African footballer, if not currently, then perhaps all time. Is that an argument that holds any water with you?
I said this yesterday when the final whistle blew. I think Sadio Mane is the most underrated African footballer that we've ever seen. He doesn't get enough credit what he's done for Liverpool in his past career and what he's meant to the continent of Africa. Yesterday, and the numbers all back it up in terms of the goal contributions. I mean, since 2010, here's a number for you. Since 2010, no other player in Africa has contributed more goals than Sadio Mane when it comes to the African Cup of Nations. He has been the gold standard, not Mohamed Salah, not Didier Drogba, not anyone else. It's Sadio Mane. And with this win, he now becomes one of 3 players who have ever won multiple African Footballers of the Year and won multiple AFCONs. So his elite company, Roger Milla, Samuel Eto'o, and Sadio Mane. And the thing that I would see is an argument for him to be the greatest ever. It's a number and a stat that you can't see. It's the leadership quality. And I said this yesterday. What Sadio Mane did not only saved Senegal from what would have been an embarrassing moment, but I think Sadio Mane saved African football and the image of African football on that very night, last night, with what he did, showing that you don't need an armband to be the true leader, not just of a nation, but of an entire continent. And him going in, grabbing his teammates, that is why the numbers don't lie, and Michael Lahoud definitely does not lie. Sadio Mane is very much in that greatest of all time conversation.
Which is incredible, and congratulations again to Senegal for their second win of the Africa Cup of Nations in 4 years. They won, of course, in 2021 in an absolutely insane final between themselves and Morocco. Before we go, we like to do a Guess the Team, where the production team put together a quiz for us. We have to figure out who the team is. So here is time now for Guess the Team. Let's go ahead and put it up on the screen. And we see here, average possession in La Liga, Barcelona 1, Real Madrid 2, blank 3, and Sevilla 4th, of course, under Matias Almeida. And clue number 1, they enjoyed an unbeaten start through 7 league games, finishing September in 4th place. So I think over the course of that time, I don't think Marcelinos Villarreal are big-time possession merchants. I would definitely have had them. I think Atletico Madrid is probably too obvious of an answer. Who are you thinking here?
Yeah, Atleti were actually poor to start the season. Remember that? They were struggling giving up goals. I need to see more clues because Villarreal was definitely my first guess.
Okay, so let's get to clue number 2 then. They're a newly promoted team from the Valencian community, finishing in the top 4. Ooh. So it's not Real Oviedo because they've definitely struggled over the course of the season. I'm trying to remember now the other 2 promoted La Liga sides.
So where does Levante come in? Because I think Levante is my guess because I think seeing the colors, seeing their emblem, there's something about them that screams that they're from Valencia, the region.
All right, let's reveal the answer then. I'll go with Lahoud's guess of Levante as the correct answer here. It's Elche! Oh! Elche, the newly promoted side that were 3rd in possession right now in La Liga. That's absolutely incredible. To come up from the 2nd division and control games like that is fairly extraordinary, and they've had a very good run since returning to the top flight.
I actually initially was going to guess Alaves until it was the Valencia region, because you see Alaves as well, they possess, but you got me.
Yeah, well done to the production team. We have been stumped as Elche are up there in La Liga. That'll do it for us here on Numbers Don't Lie. Stay with us.